So we will start with our workshop. Welcome to this workshop where we're looking at different ways of digital transformation for rural areas. And all in all, this framework, we have a look, macro-regional strategy will come in. What are opportunities of cooperation? What are policy uptakes on a macro-regional level? So we have kind of two parts in this presentation or workshop. The first one is an input part from project side. We have the Smart Era project, the Smart Community project that presents, they will present us, the representatives will present us results, project implementation, how can a smart transition be initiated, mobilized, engaged people are the core issue, and we will have more information on that. And then in the second part, I will do a small interview with my two neighbors, representatives of macro-regional strategies, OISAL, and then also the EU strategy for the Danube region. So I leave the floor to Elena Noth and also to Francesco Leoni and Luciano Galetti. Elena Noth is from the Fondazione Bruno Kessler, and Francesca and Luciano are working for the autonomous province of Trento, and they are telling us a bit what are the achievements, activities in the Smart Era Horizon project. Fondazione Bruno Kessler is also the lead partner of this Horizon project. So, Elena, please.
Thanks a lot, Peter. So we'll talk about some of the activities that are being carried out within Smart Era. Actually, today we have many partners from the Smart Era project present. So it is a pleasure to share with you what we are doing. Smart Era is a Horizon Europe project that focuses on the co-design, so collaborative design of innovative solutions for rural communities. It is a 4 years project, and we are now right in the middle of the second year of the project. The consortium is quite large. We have 25 partners and affiliated entities from 10 European countries. So the main topic, as I said, of the project is that of trying to help communities living in rural and remote areas build their capacity to innovate. And the objective of the project is to try and develop methods that help these communities build solutions to rural challenges. One of the pivotal concepts of the project is that of smart innovation packages. This concept arises from the observation that innovation, technological and digital innovation, is rarely deployed in isolation in territories. For example, suppose that you have in one rural area a mobility challenge, which is often the case, especially in mountainous areas. Simply having a digital solution for booking on-demand and on-demand bus service, of course, is not sufficient to actually have an innovation deployed and sustainable in time. So simply having one single technological element supporting the solution of the challenge is not sufficient, because first of all, you have to have also other very important non-technological elements that prepare the ground for the technological innovation to be deployed. You need to have first community engagement. You need to co-design together with the community what the technological solution would look like. You have to understand which are the problems, so you have to analyze the data that comes from the territory to understand which are the routes, for example, that are needed. Who are the stakeholders who are most in need for that mobility service? and after the service is deployed, you most probably need to monitor in time. You need data dashboards for monitoring how the service is developed. But also, most probably you need incentives models that help you engage private parties, private companies to help deploy the service. You need a local bus company or local drivers to help you deliver the service that is required. So you also need some special types of governance models that help build relationships between the public administration that wants to deliver this new type of service and the private companies, actors that may help deliver that service. So as you can see, the technological bits are not sufficient because you have to create an overall package between non-technological elements, business models, and policies that all together help make the service sustainable. Within the Smart Era project, we are trying to understand how to help communities build this type of smart innovation packages. And the methodology, first of all, starts from the idea that one important element is the preliminary context assessment. So the project is focusing on developing methods for assessing the initial problems of the territories, helps data screening, and defining the challenges that needs to be solved. The second step is very, very important, which is the collaborative design of solutions in collaboration with communities. And we are developing methodologies on how to help communities engage in this very complex process. For doing this, we collaborate with 6 rural communities, and we are experimenting with them a specific process for identifying the technology elements and the non-technological solutions that are required to build innovation in rural areas. With the help of these 6 pilot environments, we will test how the methodology works. We will evaluate the results that are obtained by these territories and assess the impact, the innovation impact that is obtained. One fourth very essential element of the Smart Era methodology is to ensure that what is developed in one territory is replicable in other areas, in other rural territories. This is why in the final part, in the second part of the project, we will have an open call for follower regions that would like to experiment with what has already been developed within a Smart Era. The lessons that we will learn from this overall process of experimentation will be used to develop policy recommendations and elaborate even more the exploitation strategy of this type of methodology. We are doing this, as I said, with 6 pilot territories. We are working with Northern Ostrobothnia in Finland, and our partners will be developing digital platforms that support the so-called platform economy, so to facilitate interactions and economic transactions in places which are far away from city centers, exploiting the digital infrastructure for this type of interactions, both for smart working and economic activities. In Valle di Sole, we are focusing on sustaining the agri-food sector. We will be experimenting with the digital tracing of the production chain of the cheese market. And we will engage the community to also make them aware of the value of the product, to make it more, to make the price more acceptable of the local product. In Sóller, on the island of Mallorca, our partners are working on the digitalization of the local economy by helping local economic operators in the tourism and agriculture sector to share the data, so to model the economy at the local level and foster local improvements. In Slovenia, in collaboration with the villages of Šmarje and Padna, there will be an experimentation of digital solutions to support sustainable mobility, so on-demand mobility services, to also sustain tourism, and to engage the community in circular economy solutions. In Trebinje, in East Herzegovina, our partners are working on defining digital services for the agri-food promotion and to put in place a system for electronic commerce which is not currently available for local products. In the Vetaki Plateau in Bulgaria, our colleagues are working on defining solutions for putting in place digital infrastructures and connectivity which is not currently available to deliver service, in particular for electronic health, so remote services for health. One of the most important pillars of the Smart Era project is to adopt participatory methods and collaborative design that is directly empowering groups of local stakeholders to help them build capacity, build knowledge, know-how on how they can be protagonists of the innovation. We are exploiting the collective intelligence of this local community through workshops, focus groups, interviews, to ensure that what solutions are designed answer real and specific needs of the territory. We are involving on purpose very different categories of people, from public administration to private companies and to community representatives, to make sure that also typically underrepresented categories are included in the decision-making process. The technology is meant to be designed through a user-centered approach to make it more sustainable in the long term. To make this feasible, that is to empower the communities to perform this type of process, we have developed what we call the Smart Era Toolkit. It is a set of informative resources and practical guidelines on how to perform these collaborative design processes. We started from an analysis of the different categories of ingredients that are required for innovation processes. So not just considering the digital parts, software, data, and infrastructure as the necessary ingredients, but also considering the fact that to put this innovation in place, the community has to be engaged. Political and legal enablers have to be identified. Ways for getting funding have to be identified. Methods and incentives should be put in place. Communication, training actions. And for all these type of categories, all these different types of ingredients, we have produced some informative resources, so practical material and guidelines that describe concrete examples that can inspire rural communities on what is needed to build their smart innovation package. This material comes also with concrete instructions and step-by-step guidelines on how to organize their co-production process. We have developed also canvases, that is visual templates that can be used during workshops and focus groups to facilitate collaborative activities. And we have an overall, what we call the SIP board, that is used to visualize the ingredients of innovation as they are progressively identified. These analog materials, paper-based materials, have also been complemented by digital functionalities. We are currently implementing a digital version of the SIP board that will facilitate the different stakeholders to keep informed on the progress of the process and keep them motivated as they see that things and solutions are being built together. This methodology is currently under testing in the 6 territories, pilot territories of engaged in the project. We will report a little bit of Valle di Sole pilot, and I leave the floor to Luciano to speak about, first of all, the digital strategy of the province of Trento.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Luciano. I'm the director of the Territorial Cohesion Office of the Autonomous Province of Trento. I am very pleased to be here today, and thank you for inviting me to this important event. Following the presentation of the contents of the objectives of the Smart Era project, I would like to briefly recall the strategic context in which the project is implemented. That means the strong attention we have been deserving in the last years to the digital transition as a leverage of the economic, social and territorial transition. In this phase of economic and social development, the province of Trento is particularly focused and committed to promote and support development dynamics of its internal territorial cohesion, but also to converge with the most performing and inclusive territories in Europe. The province of Trento is therefore defining and implementing plans and programs in order to 1. Fight against the depopulation of the most marginal territories. 2. Support access to new citizenship service by its inhabitants, regardless of their place of residence. Promote the right to housing even in mountain areas. Support sustainable economic and social development process capable of the making in territories attractive, including rural ones. Promote the establishment and consolidation of supportive, inclusive and resilient communities. 6. Support the setup of green communities through participatory approaches. To follow these objectives, the province of Trento valorize all the opportunities provided at local, national and European level, also participating in pilot projects that foster digital transition. The budget allocated for the above mentioned scope only for 2025-2026 is about 21 million euros. The development of communities that value the digital approaches is in fact an essential condition for supporting fragile areas, orographical or demographically, in the following possible interventions: new low mobility job opportunities, for example smart working, promotion of typical local production, form of sustainable and green mobility, more effective accessibility to health, education and cultural services, and a quality of life that combines easy access to the woods, mountains and greenery with the most modern services. We are here today as we consider this event as an opportunity for learn, exchange experience, and look for new digital approaches to make our strategies and actions more innovative and aware. Thank you very much.
I will present now the Valle di Sole pilot Valle di Sole in Trentino. Trentino, if you know, is a province in the north of Italy, and Valle di Sole is one part of the one area located in the northwest part of Trentino. It's a marginal area, predominantly mountainous and with sparse population, which is often isolated from urban centers providing services. Valle di Sole counts 13 municipalities and its economy is mainly based on tourism. Other important resources include the livestock farming and forestry. Critical issues that can be also seen as territorial challenges are low birth rate, aging of the population, urbanization of the lively centers, and access to services. For the pilot Valle di Sole, local communities have been involved in the co-design process of the project since they are the key actors of the innovation process. And in the project, the province of Trento is called community activator, and it is in charge especially of engaging local actors. This means, first of all, the local public authorities, local stakeholders, and finally local community. The goal of the local action identified by the local stakeholder, by the community of the Valle di Sole, and supported by the project, is to develop a collective narrative integrating digital and innovative social solution in order to raise the awareness on the value of the product, in the case of Valle di Sole, the milk and cheese chain, but also on the work behind this product. Expected impacts are to increase the economic value of the product in terms of quality and uniqueness, to recognize the work of farmers, to boost a sense of pride, especially among young farmers, reinforcing their profession and preserving traditions, and finally to have a positive impact on biodiversity and sustainability. The project started in 2024, as Elena said. First of all, involved the president of the community valley and the 13 majors to analyze the needs and opportunities of the pilot Valle di Sole and identify the main objective that can be summarized as a valorization of the environment as a driver for the sustainable development of this local economy and community. Then a core working group was established, made up of 3 majors, the province of Trento and FPK, and local stakeholders were involved organizing workshops. These in order to analyze data and select the sector of intervention. In 2025, concrete action and CP ingredients were co-designed, and a broader involvement of local stakeholders was foreseen. With other 2 workshops, we have now just started with the co-design of solutions and ingredients, and local stakeholders will be again engaged with using different participatory tools like workshop, focus group, interviews, and so on. In 2026, solution will be tested, monitored, and evaluated. So far, the following solutions have been identified by the local actors of the milk and cheese chain, focusing on the valorization of the product, especially tracing the cheese production and collecting content on the farmer's life, but also focusing on the community engagement with initiatives to collect historical photos and objects to strengthen the cultural identity, and multimedia materials through a context. The data will be connected to the tracing, to technical and scientific issues, and to multimedia. This is for the technological part, and for the some concrete actions that came out from the workshop with the local stakeholders in order to involve the community, both residents and tourists, have been like a QR code, apps and website, exhibition, use of social media, panels, educational games for schools, and visit to farms. So these are the concrete solution that we elaborated with the local stakeholders. So thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much to all of you for this very interesting work. It's very cohesive work, analyzes these different steps you showed, methodology and the output. So thank you for this input. And we move on with another input, the Smart Community Project. It will be presented by Jure Trilla. He's a project developer and researcher at the Lab of Multimedia and Telecommunication at Ljubljana University, and he's also the lead partner of the Smart Community Interact Up and Space project. So we just move on as soon as I...
Please, Jure.
Okay, you want to switch.
Perhaps I can just switch the cables.
As you prefer.
Okay, else the presentation is ready in a folder, so I think
Okay.
just
Just come here, Jure.
Perhaps it will be easier. The cable is not long enough.
so now it should be. This is only Italian. To come up with the right view, Jure, could you please to show the full view in
Which one is it? Not sure.
On the right, the third icon to the bottom, you press on that and it says full screen. Go to the right.
Yes.
Oh, that one, yeah.
Perfect.
There,
Well, Elena, maybe you can help.
Yeah, do we
Yes.
have...
There are a few.
This one, the last one.
the last one?
no.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much. Okay, thank you, Peter, for having us here, and also to the presenters before me. It was very interesting, and also the Digital Apps has exposed some interesting keynotes, lectures, so perhaps I will be quicker and leave more room for discussion later on. So yes, we'll present the Smart Community Project. Well, Smart Community Project is of course an Interact Alpine Space project, and it's building on the concept of smart villages towards transnational and EU South integrated smart community in the Alps sort of approach. Just to begin with, what the smart community is related to, let's say, identity, agency, innovation, and sustainability. So this is one of the first things that we sort of try to set up in the project. What is the definition of smart community? Of course, the relation to identities, that these communities are, of course, aware of their, let's say, surroundings, of their capacities, craftsmanship, social fabric, and so on. And they want to be active players in determining their own future, their owning and driving changes, and of course they're innovative, open to innovate, learn, and also inspire others. Of course, all this in the context of the sustainability, working towards smart, greener, carbon neutral, attractive, and livable areas. As for the project, it lies, let's say, on 3 pillars. Of course, the first one is related to with a seamless link to EU SALP, into robust AG5 smart Alps and also AG9 connection. AG5 especially being focused on digitalization and AG9 on energy changes. Of course, there is a lot of pilot actions which are done in the context of 6 dimensions I will present later. And also we have this full digital bank of tools that we provide to the pilots, to the project, and also for the projects after our project, because there's a lot of overlap with similar projects. Actually, at the university, in our team, we are involved in 4 or 5 projects that have this digital rural development in, let's say, in the primary focus. Of course, the project would not be so great if there were not for so great partners. Sorry, Peter, your logo is missing. I have a new version.
I just got it right by now.
You are included, sorry. But we are very proud of our partner consortium, and also this political level Smart Alps network, which also serves as a vessel to connect these pilot areas and also to have this political impact for the long-term effects that we desire to achieve within this project. So, but at the heart of the project, of course, are our pilot areas, which, let's say, have, I mean, I won't list all of them. I have picked some of the, let's say, more interesting, I guess, but they are doing work in the framework of 6 smartness dimensions: economy, environment, mobility, energy, governance, and people. They come from 6 countries, and I think there's about 12 of them. Some of them joined us in the middle of the project, and it is the model here is that we have these lighthouse test areas, which are the already experienced test areas that have some solutions developed, and then we have the follower test areas, which sort of gain knowledge, exchange knowledge with these lighthouse test areas to produce, let's say, faster results. I have picked 3 examples of our pilot area solutions. More or less they are digital, but these are, let's say, very mature pilots, because the project is ending in this October. But these notable examples of innovation pilot areas include, first would be, of course, the autonomous region of Valle d'Aosta. They have experimented with VR and AI for tourism applications, and I think they have been quite successful to produce these tangible solutions that were very transferable to, let's say, other regions, to other contexts, but also the results, it's quite impressive. You can visit, you can go on the highest mountains without actually going into the nature. Okay. But it is a good way to promote the tourism and also inform, educate people using this, whether they be tourists or, let's say, local population. Moving on, another one example, which is, let's say, I mean, it is quite digital. It is about, of course, this food supply chain tracking system based on blockchain. But what is even more impressive is that they have achieved this network ecosystem that is fully evolved. They have 70 producers, farmers, co-ops, and so on, and a whole network of distributors, market shops, restaurants, hotels, and catering SMEs. So in that terms, they have a lot of impact. It's not just about technology, but they actually move, let's say, a lot of produce around, and there's a lot of transaction. They are, let's say, very evolved pilot areas but of course everybody has to begin somewhere. One notable example that I wanted to include was the other Austrian pilot. I didn't include the Standort Tirol one with Data Hub Tirol because I was under the impression, since we are already in Linz, we will be talking about it on, let's say, other occasions. But the other one is from the Agency for Energy and Environment Agency in Lower Austria. They have this exhibition and also organize these shops which are connected to the climate change. So it's not just about digitalization, but also the let's say the energy changes and climate changes, how to mitigate those. And I think one of the, let's say, main sort of goals achieved is, of course, that they have a lot of traction, they have a lot of events organized, a lot of public outreach, and thus they were included in this short list. Of course, I will not go through all of these pilots. I will move on because I will also want to promote our innovation portal, where we sort of put all of the, let's say, digital tools that were designed and developed within the Smart Villages project. This is the project that was pioneering this approach, this community engagement, this systemic community engagement approaches. But these tools were then upgraded, and also there was a lot of addition with new tools, especially since we now have a lot of, let's say, AI capabilities. We provide some integration with AI tools. But as we heard in the previous keynote, AI, of course, will change a lot of things, and I don't think that next projects will look a lot of different. I mean, I'm not just talking for specific projects, but all of the projects that perhaps will fall, because we have so much capacity now to use these tools. I won't go through every of these tools. They're quite impressive, I guess, but I would invite you to go to smartalps.eu and check them for yourself. And if you perhaps do not find everything on first try, you can use the interactive course where you have the structured approach. How can you use these tools? Perhaps you will find some inspiration for, let's say, community engagements in your areas, in your pilots, and so on. Moving on, so this community-based data approach is one of the deficits, one of the gaps that we have detected within, let's say, not within just our own project, but also across other projects that we are involved in. This is, of course, not the, let's say, the silver bullet to everything, but it's just a concept to try to involve the discussion, the people into discussion. How can they produce the data? How can they collect the data? What it actually means to own the data? Because in the end, we are all producing data and sending it somewhere else, and not actually make any benefits from it. But this, of course, can change. I think there's a lot of interest for this, say, data production in the, let's say, special context like the rural areas that we are involved in, mountainous, rural, or otherwise not so digitally evolved. But in time, this will become more and more important, and of course, this also has great consequences for the autonomy of the pilot areas in terms of these data sources and what to do with this data. I have some lessons and challenges I want to share since we are nearing the end of the project, but there are some insights that we want to share. I can assess that Smart Villages approaches this systemic capacity building, community engagement strategies and tools are mature and usable. I mean, I see so many usage across a lot of projects and a lot of tools being developed. And at this time, I mean, when we first started doing this work years ago, there were not a lot of tools, or perhaps they were not really set up for the context. But now you have a lot of options, and one of the main things is also that you can use these tools and use them in your own way. You can update them, or you can change them in any way you want. It's not something like proprietary software that you have to pay, you have to use in certain way, but it's very fluid. And also moving to the next, there are some concepts that are emerging and becoming ever more prominent and important. And one is, of course, data readiness. This is the gap that I was talking on the previous slide. This data readiness, not talking about specific project, but across many projects, is very low. But of course, there is less digital capacity in rural evolving areas, but also you have to take into the account that solutions designed for the communities, by the communities, of course, don't take into the account these data aspects. They need the solutions that work for them. They are not data scientists, and they, of course, you cannot set up an environment that produces meaningful data for decision-driven processes if you don't set up the model at the very beginning. But let's say the life cycle of the pilot area solution, it's not dedicated to finding the data that somebody else will use, but to find the solutions that people can use immediately that makes value for them. Of course, as we have all heard and we all read about it daily, there are a lot of emerging technologies and contested concepts surrounding this. One of which is, of course, very important is tech sovereignty, ownership, and also capacities to own the infrastructure and also produce meaningful value from data and other digital solutions. And this is very important aspects that macro-regional coordination is needed to tackle these evolving challenges, because they are not only from the technology but also from political uncertainties, and it is primary goal to sustain this momentum of innovation. But important thing is that we cannot solve these macro-regional big problems with thinking like just with the bottom-up approaches. We have to think cross-border, and I think this is the key pillar that macro-regional strategies have. I mean, not everything can be solved with tailored digital solutions or any other solutions that derive from the needs of the community, because we are all living in a global world and which is changing fast. I mean, especially when talking about AI, it's not changing, let's say, every month, but every week. So this is it for now, and perhaps we can have a good discussion based on these presentations. Thank you.
Thank you, Ure. We will handle questions perhaps in the last part of our workshop. So we just move on with the next presentation of DigiHub Liechtenstein, presented by Franz Josef Allmeier. You are a director and co-founder, as far as I understood right, on the website of DigiHub Liechtenstein. So we are looking forward to your presentation and looking at a small country, but a very, very developed country, and we are wondering what you are doing in Liechtenstein.
Fantastic. Should I come over there? Or
Yeah.
can this appear from here?
Yeah.
I can come over there.
Would be better if you can hear, yeah.
And yeah, fantastic. I think what our colleague from Slovenia was saying sets the stage for exactly what I'm going to be presenting. So perfect alignment in terms of the order. So yeah, my name is Franz Josef Allmeier, and I have the honor to be here with you at the Digital Alps conference. I represent, as Peter was saying, DigiHub, Liechtenstein's digital innovation hub and part of the European Digital Innovation Hub network, and also the local network that we represent, but also the global and all of that consortium. I'm going to be speaking to you about Liechtenstein's digital ecosystem. So yeah, as I mentioned, thank you for paving the way. The approach that we're taking in Liechtenstein is essentially around sovereignty. As a micronation with a macro impact, where we're small, we really have to enshrine sovereignty at its core and really fundamentally shift how humans interact with their data. Because as we know today, data is essentially the lifeblood of the economy today. Data today is the most valuable asset, if we want to put it that way. So if we're just giving it away to the corporations of the world, we're essentially losing our data sooner or later. So that's something very important that I want to bring to the table, and also figure out to address if we can tackle it at an alpine macro-regional level. But yeah, sovereignty here not only meaning about control, but also the ability to empower individuals, to empower organizations, and to own and govern and directly benefit from their data. Because the shift, as we're talking about, just to give you an example, if you have a Facebook account today, just from having a Facebook account, Meta, the other company of Facebook, makes around $35,000 per user that is being extracted for your data and being sold to third parties. And that essentially is the business models of today's digital agenda led by corporate parties. And in a world of volatility, where we're stuck between powers like China or the US, it's really important to focus on our own grassroots solutions. And yeah, this is also important because as we advance this vision in Liechtenstein, it also serves as a blueprint for other local ecosystems, but essentially also contributes to a broader shift towards more equitable, more sustainable digital futures. I'm not going to go fully into detail on this, but these are the enablers of what we're essentially, in terms of best practices, codifying into digital. As I mentioned before, a micronation with a micro impact. We really believe in sovereignty by design. So some of our enablers there, we have the world's first blockchain act that gives clarity to tokenization in Web3. We have direct democracy in many ways. We have very values-driven culture in terms of consciousness, consumption of food, consciousness of production of food. We are also very conscious around our energy production. We can also see ourselves as a bioregional living lab that is deeply rooted in alpine ecology and preservation of biodiversity. At the same time, we're small, we're networked, and we're nimble. So we also recognize really the need to work across sectors in innovation, but also beyond borders. At the other layer, in terms of economic representation, we have a very strong privacy culture, which serves the foundation for data as an asset class framework in which we can really give value and benefit to people who are creating that value together. At the same time, AAA ratings, debt-free governments also allows us to innovate where perhaps other countries are not able to innovate. And the interest aspect of having dual access, both via the EU, via the European Economic Area, but also the Swiss systems via currency and customs union, gives us a dual participation in terms of bridges that we're able to make. Next, I want to share with you a little bit about the journey we've been in, and this journey since 2023. We started essentially by listening closely to the needs of our community. We started with interviews and needs assessments across public and private sectors to understand the digital challenges we're facing today. Based from that, we started to create also open spaces for collaboration, where stakeholders could come together, share ideas, and highlight the challenges and opportunities that they are encountering. These open forums were also foundational to shape the direction of the solutions we were building. And then we added more moderation and structured support, really bringing in the experts around data, the experts around technology, so that with the multi-stakeholder network, they could build really strong solutions from the ground up. Furthermore, we started creating mastermind groups and networks, bringing thought leaders. In parallel, we also started reaching out to other European digital innovation hubs that have pieces of the puzzle that we as a small nation might not have. And some of the sort of tasks that you see here, and I'm going to not go into each of them in detail, but for example, digital company formation protocols, where we're now exploring how to create digitally first organizations on the blockchain, but also things like youth coordination, where we've mobilized a lot of the youth networks in Liechtenstein to create a consortium. We obviously believe aligning and educating our youth with these values is a key to a sustainable digital future. And now we're at the critical point of turning these efforts into tangible results. So by collaborating with organizations, we're laying the groundwork for self-sovereign digital ecosystems positioned to unlock new economic opportunities, which I think is the biggest opportunity we have, essentially enabling people to have more value and more voice into the ecosystems that they inhabit. And looking ahead, the work we've done so far is just the beginning, but we're now testing new business models and exploring how to move towards a self-sovereign ecosystem that prioritizes individual and innovation. Let me go to the next slide. Here you see a little bit about our pathway again, and you can see that our activities are centered around building this digital ecosystem that serves the community and stakeholders across various domains and sectors. On the left, you see some of the activities that we've been doing. Just again to complement some of the things, it's about capacity building, it's about teaching people, what is data, how to use it, what is blockchain, how to use it. But it's also enabling people to share their voice and their needs. And we aggregate those into 4 main strands. One is the technology infrastructure, which I will get more into detail in my presentation because I think it's fundamental. Participation and networking is another one, but it's also, how do you create this inclusive platform where all the layers of society are represented. Cultural skills development, promotion, ideas, and content. So all of this creates a collaborative model that allows us to test, refine, and scale ecosystems over time, ensuring that it remains adaptable, resilient, and impactful for all of those who participate. And the key here again is really this multi-stakeholder approach where we bring in public sectors, SMEs, individuals, investors, and even employees from the organizations to also participate into this ecosystem. I personally truly believe we're moving towards a world where we have an impact economy, which not only values financial outcomes, but also outcomes for the people and planet. So what we've been doing also is essentially partnering across domains and organizations, as you see on the left, whether it's around water, whether it's around energy, education, health, nature, or a combination of all of the above. And what we have right now gained the capacity, technological capacity to do is essentially create a digital twin, and not just a virtual digital twin, but essentially a cognitive twin that fuses data sources in, of course, a self-sovereign way, where we can develop modular protocols around the different use cases. We also have a strong layer of DMRV, decentralized monitoring and verification protocols to really bring back, again, the notion of trust in whatever value flows we're exchanging. Finance outcomes in real time, do real-time due diligence in terms of business models that also helps to enhance trust, but also the tools to engage stakeholders in whatever state of their digital journey they might be. We also have data marketplaces and digital marketplaces, and we're also using AI co-pilots to optimize the different value flows. And just to also differentiate, we have white box AI, so all of the information is, and the models that are used are open and accessible to all the users in terms of no hidden agendas. I'm also going to briefly jump over this. This kind of again shows a little bit of our thinking around this in terms of empowering local communities to create networked wealth, leveraging distributed ownership. So we're exploring a lot around decentralized governance and decentralized governance modules that really bring alignment across multi-stakeholder networks to manage resources in a holistic way. But if you see on the right, then all of the different value flows, now we can intentionally find out through data and optimize and also internalize externalities that might be in a system, which is interesting approach. Again, focusing on the technology stack, this is, I think, very important, where we have a bioregional approach to digital sovereignty rooted in alpine values. So, of course, as a small nation, we want to localize as much as possible our data and our sovereignty, but we depend heavily on our neighbors and our partners. So we have wonderful collaborations with technology institutions from both Switzerland and Austria, but are looking beyond. And just to give you a quick insight around sort of the technology infrastructure where we've been diving to, this means around user interfaces that are modular, that enable us to have multiple different impact applications, but also market platforms. That layer enables us to create a whole bunch of different web and mobile apps, integrate AI, integrate IoT integrations. We have impact market platforms that aggregate market supply with market demand. And this, in terms of digital infrastructures, means digital registries, decentralized exchanges, digital credential exchanges, data marketplaces, and also Web2 integrations. And here, for example, we work with the public offices to integrate public services like EIDs, for example. From the digital infrastructure modular services layer, we're talking about multi-chain, interconnected blockchain networks, tools like smart contracts, decentralized data stores, composable data ontologies, different ways to algorithmically manage that data, software development kits, and again, the whole layer of sensing actually what's happening in reality, IoTs, sensor networks, neural networks, and decentralized AI. Yes.
Sorry.
Last couple slides, just to make this abstract piece more tangible. So this is some of the dashboards that we're now developing in one of the, we've also identified hundreds of use cases with our community, but just to show you some of these use cases in terms of real world application is, again, for example, developing cognitive digital twins of our energy production systems that are incentivizing autonomy and local self-production to meet our local needs, and so that surplus can then be sold outside. So we have a whole data layer towards that, where obviously privacy protected in terms of data commons and unlocking, for example, local energy certificates to incentivize, again, local production and local consumption. And we're looking more and more into peer-to-peer data exchanges, where essentially we think we have the capacity to tokenize kilowatt hours and be able to exchange value actually on real kilowatt hours produced, which is a very innovative way to essentially see what value is. And if we're moving towards a more and more digital world, energy can be a fundamental enabler for that. Again, for agriculture, food sovereignty is foremost. So, for example, this is an example of a field regeneration project where we can have a cognitive digital twin of a plot of land. And here we are also enabling sensors to be able to tell us in real time how much carbon is being sequestered. We're able to also engage participants to, for example, monitor biodiversity in real time. And all of this to really make sure that the economic outcomes are benefiting both people and planet, and enabling more participants to engage in local economic models. And again, the beauty of this is the enablement of aggregating data and unlocking multi-stakeholder collaboration. Last but not least, in terms of use cases, we're also thinking this around, for example, citizen science. How do we engage our community to collect and earn from local data? So we have the want to, for example, enable youth to go out there and measure through our created standards the river monitoring to see, for example, flow of water or changes around that. And again, Rhine River monitoring, I think, is also very important because we want to take a bioregional approach in terms of development. And here the Rhine is obviously the backbone of the Alpine watershed. So we also would love to work with our Alpine partners around taking this watershed first bioregionalism approach first for holistic stewardship of our natural resources. And I want to finish with a bioregioning call to action, as I mentioned. We are really, I believe, at the forefront of creating this decentralized autonomous bioregion, which is not just a vision for Liechtenstein, but is also a blueprint for how digital sovereignty and sustainable growth and innovation can work together to empower Alpine communities. And the invitation for the 3 layers is for business who want to leverage verify impact to verify any impact claims they have, which grants them a higher market value locally, but also to the world. Governments who are also looking to provide to their constituents more access and more sovereignty to the digital world, but also technologists and innovators who want to join us in creating this open source ecosystem. And yeah, we are small in size, but we have, essentially we punch well above our weight. And thank you so much for this invitation, and I'm open for questions when the time is right.
Thank you. I hope. Alessio, do you leave us a few minutes? Okay.
I'm here to communicate you that you have 5 minutes more.
5 minutes more. Okay. Good. Thank you, Franz. Actually, we have now a complete picture about the Smart Villages approaches, how this works, and due to time limits, I want to focus. I prepared many questions to the 2 interviews, but I will reduce it to the policy aspect. Claudia, you are coordinator of Priority Area 10 of the Danube strategy, and I wonder, now you're also part of the Smart Era project, and where do you see opportunities, mechanisms, etc., for disseminating the results of the Smart Era project or these Smart Villages approaches in general to the policy level, to disseminate these ideas, to give impact to our projects, which of course at the end is the most important thing. We are doing good work, but we want to have a leverage to further institutions, for example.
Yeah, I do think that sort of all these presentations and very interesting but I think what's really important here from my point of view is that they really show how to let's say implement a complicated strategy into an actual measure, sort of not just because it's sort of local strategy is quite abstract, but the art is how to actually make it, to show what are the approaches and methods, sort of how to actually translate this into real life. And I think this also gives more flesh to the policy. And now actually is a very good time or window of opportunity, because we're now on the verge of getting a new multi-annual financial framework with subsequent programming and sort of where we materialize policy objectives. And I think that these solutions, they are actually a very important contributing factor to actually see how do we actually realize policy objectives like competitiveness, how do we realize objectives like cohesion policy, and because it's still cohesion policy or territorial cohesion is still a major factor. We have heard from the European Commission and DG Regio in particular that there is still a commitment to cohesion policy and to right to stay, which means basically that everywhere where people live in the European Union and Europe should be able to stay, and that means that you have a quality of life everywhere. So I think that these those projects, they basically provide solutions on how to make this work. And this is not only relevant for agricultural policy or rural development, this is also relevant for cohesion policy, competitiveness, and even in our case in the Danube region for enlargement policy. because there's also a big increasing understanding that, for example, EU accession cannot be just governed top-down, but also needs to be backed up through rural development, amongst others.
Thank you. I'm aware that the Smart Villages approach is part of your action plan, of course, and I think this helps also in the policy uptake of this concept, isn't it?
For us in the Danube strategy, yes. However, I would say that it's not like in the Alpine strategy where it's a lot more pronounced. And I think basically, I think Juris actually mentioned this also in his presentation, that it's good to have a bottom-up approach maybe to deliver or sort of to start solutions, but you need also a top-down approach for a more strategic uptake and also to spread it in a more strategic way. And this is where we in the Danube strategy are currently trying to make this switch from different bottom-up initiatives when we do have as a part as our action. So it's regional development, capacity building for rural and regional development is part of our action plan. But I think we're just about to actually do what you already did, basically having a strategic approach and then basically from there derive the many sort of initiatives then, and this is sort of what we try now to gather all those initiatives, put that into a sound strategy, and then basically do a more outreach.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you. And you, Michael, you're currently writing the revision of the action plan 85.
Thanks God I'm not.
Almost. So actually, will the Smart Villages approach, will it still have a place in your action plan idea? And where do you see leverages and opportunities to disseminate or to assure a policy uptake of these Smart Villages approaches?
Well, first of all, I was joking about it. I'm not writing it personally, but it's true that currently the Alpine region is undergoing an action plan revision process since a bit more than 1 year so far. Well, we have inherited this task and we are doing our best to comply with it. However, we have involved a team of external experts that we trust to literally write it, but of course on the basis of the inputs that come from the discussions within the executive board, so the, let's say, assembly of delegations on an administrative level. Well, yes, I can confirm that what we can see at the moment now in the progress of the work is that we will stay with all the actions so far, so there will be no actions like omitted, like it was also in the air for some time. And of course, there are also the action 5, which is about digitalization. And here now we'll come to the point where, let's say, one of the demands or the mandate for the action plan revision was to become even more specific, to become more focused, or as our Swiss friends used to say, less is more. So this is a kind of pertaining dogma that is accompanying us through all the works at every stage, even still now where we have already focused. Nevertheless, I can confirm you that in the latest draft that will be discussed in a few weeks' time, in about 3 weeks' time, still there is let's say the theme of smart villages, even more prominent and more clear than it used to be before. There's also the proposal, and I have to say proposal, these are all proposals only at the moment, but at an advanced stage. There's also, we saw the different stages of, let's say, the approach. So first of all, we start with digital infrastructure, which is absolutely the prerequisite to build on that in terms of a smart village approach or smart communities approach. And even that is now explicitly mentioned in the current draft. So there's one topic that is dealing with developing digital infrastructure, then one that is dealing with the smart village approach and, let's say, digital applications. And then there's a third one where at the moment we're still fighting a little bit with our Swiss colleagues, whether to have it inside or not. And that is then really this approach of, let's say, what we make out of it, the approach of platforms, the approach of, other tools that we want to integrate. And I think here it needs a bit more probably communication. And so I'm very grateful for all the inputs from today, because I think this is one of the 3 building blocks, I would say, of digitalization strategy. And this, let's say, helps me a lot, and hopefully also the other delegations, to better communicate what is meant by the proposed message, because we are not experts in digitalization. So we are, even most of us are from the non-digital native generation. So you really need to treat us a little bit like dumbheads. We need to really get a clear idea and a clear vision of what it is all about. Now, coming to your question, like how to, let's say, get this closer to the policy implementation. Well, yeah, in the OISAP, we are always, every 3 years, after one working period, there are, let's say, policy recommendations elaborated. That's a good thing. I wouldn't like to doubt this. But I think what is probably even more necessary and important is, and we're discussing this already at the moment in the revision process together with the action group leaders and the action groups, that is a kind of a changed role of the action groups. At the moment, the action groups in OISAP are often very hands-on, and they are, let's say, developing the projects. They want to implement the projects themselves, and I think that is probably a little bit limiting the potential that we have within this strategy. So I would rather see the role of the action groups more in the future as coordinators and animators with their own stakeholder community that would then be, let's say, the ones who would implement these things. Because the action groups, they cannot keep the control about their projects all the time, and when they let them go, they are gone for good. So they will just, let's say, implode, Nobody will take care of them. So what we need is like finding stakeholders outside this close governance circle that would implement these projects and these ideas, and also design and implement it in the way they are sustainable and lasting. And here I think that the role, this altered role of the action groups is very important to do a little bit what we do here today, to collect what is already out there as good projects, and many projects are, let's say, delivering recommendations or pilot actions or experiences from pilot actions, just like you do. And I think what we need is this role of a catalyst that I would see in more in the action groups, that they see, okay, now we have these great toolbox from Smart Era, but we need now somebody to roll it and some way to roll it out. Yeah. So what would we suggest? I think it needs someone or some skilled staff that would, let's say, be trainers for that, to use it and to apply it. And then I think we would have then the chance to bring it really to, let's say, I don't know, a goal of 100 smart communities for the future, for the next 3 years. Yeah? So in that respect, we also work in a new element for the revised OISAP action plan, is that we are trying to integrate also, at least partially, a kind of a mission-oriented approach. And I think, missions are much more concrete. They have a certain time horizon. They have a visible output, because that was what the political level was asking us for. And I think if we would say, like, we would really like to achieve within the next 5 years to really have in the Alpine region 100 more smart villages. Yeah, that could be, let's say, a certain visionary or mission statement, and that of course we need to see and really thoroughly prepare what steps would we need in order to make this realistic, but at the same time ambitious. So maybe just for that, because I think we have limited time, but I hope I could inspire you a little bit and then also update you a little bit in what we are working at the moment on.
Okay, thank you very much. Yeah, I think we have achieved our objective, that we came closer to the point that we know now what is meant by smart villages, digital and a concrete implementation and initiative of a smart transition in the rural space. So I'm very happy about that, and I think we can close our workshop here. Our surveyor has disappeared, so we could continue, but I have not a good feeling. So we go upstairs and we see what happens next. Thank you very much for your participation. It was a pleasure.